Welcome to a new Bitcoin Books video. Today we're diving into a book with a title that really makes you stop and think. Bitcoin, Everything Divided by 21 Million. We're going to go on a journey through its core ideas, which, let me tell you, argue that Bitcoin isn't just some new tech. It's a fundamental shift for all of humanity. So, let's get right into it.
Here's the game plan. We've broken this down into 5 key parts. First, we'll get into the philosophical heart of the book, this link between our time and what we value. Then we'll look at the author's critique of the financial system we use every day. After that, we'll see why the book calls Bitcoin a fundamental discovery, explore the network like it's a living thing, and finally, we'll tackle the super provocative prediction of a global shift to a Bitcoin standard.
All right, let's kick things off with the philosophical foundation of the whole book. This first section really sets the stage by asking a very simple but incredibly deep question about where value even comes from.
Seriously, take a second and think about it. What comes to mind? Is it gold? Diamonds, maybe? Some super rare element? The book really pushes us to look past all those physical things, to find the one resource that is absolutely 100% finite for every single one of us.
And there it is, the answer, according to the author. It's not something you can hold in your hand, it's our time. Our limited, non-refundable time on this planet. The book argues that this is the ultimate source from which all economic value springs.
When you look at it this way, everything changes. A car, a washing machine, your smartphone, they're not just objects. They're actually tools that give us back our most precious resource, time. So then what's money? Well, money is just the tool we invented to store and trade that time.
Okay, so if money is really just our stored time, what happens when the tool we're using to store it is, well, broken? This question leads us straight into the book's central criticism of our current monetary system, the fiat system.
This quote really frames the problem. It's not a bug in the system, it's a feature. The book's point is that whenever it's possible for someone to control and manipulate money for their own benefit, history shows us that they absolutely will.
And the author makes it clear this isn't a new problem. It's a pattern that's been repeating for thousands of years. The book traces this whole story, starting with ancient kings literally shaving little bits of gold and silver off coins. Then it evolved into bankers issuing more paper IOUs for gold than they actually had in the vaults. And it all leads up to the modern era of central banking, which the book presents as the final form, a global system where basically all new money is just created as debt.
And this brings us to one of the book's most powerful ideas, inflation as time theft. The argument is actually pretty straightforward. When new money is just printed out of thin air, the value of your savings, your stored time and energy, gets diluted. It means you have to work harder and harder just to stay in the same place. It's basically a hidden tax, a quiet theft of your life's work. You can see the effects laid out here. The book argues that this kind of inflationary money creates a high time preference society, meaning we're all focused on the here and now. If your money's going to be worth less tomorrow, you might as well spend it today, right? That leads to debt, consumption, and short-term thinking. On the flip side, sound money, money that holds its value, encourages low time preference. It allows you to save, to plan for the future, and it builds a culture of long-term investment and cooperation.
So after laying out this pretty grim diagnosis of the problem, the book pivots to the solution. And it presents Bitcoin in a really unique light, not as something someone invented, but as a fundamental discovery, almost like finding a new element on the periodic table.
To set the scene, the author uses this fantastic metaphor of alchemy. Central banks, in this view, are like the alchemists of old. They've finally achieved the impossible dream of creating value, creating money from nothing. But, as the book insists, it's all an illusion, built entirely on trust. And this is where the book asks its pivotal question. What if, instead of relying on this alchemist's trick, we found something completely different? Something whose scarcity wasn't backed by a government or a bank, but by the cold, hard, unbreakable laws of math. And this is what the book calls Element Zero, Bitcoin. It's described as something totally new, pure, weightless information, a brand new building block for our economy. The only thing that tethers it to our physical world is the real energy needed to create it. But its most important quality is something humanity has never, ever had before: absolute scarcity. This idea of absolute scarcity leads to a total redefinition of what it even means to own something. I mean, think about it. If true ownership is the ability to stop someone from taking your stuff, do you really own your house or your gold? The book argues that because Bitcoin can exist as pure information,
Literally, a sentence you can memorize. It's the first asset in all of human history that you can truly, absolutely, and unconfiscably own.
The implications of that idea are just massive. According to the book, if wealth can't be easily taken by force, the entire economic incentive for violence just changes. All of a sudden, cooperating with people becomes a much more profitable and logical strategy than fighting them. But how does a network built on just an idea actually work? How does it survive in the real world? This next section gets into the book's really fascinating analysis of Bitcoin as a kind of living, breathing organism, one that protects itself and interacts with the world in some pretty surprising ways.
So let's talk about the whole energy debate, because the book completely flips the script on this. It argues that Bitcoin mining isn't a waste at all. It's this brilliant incentive system. See, miners are financially driven to find the absolute cheapest power on the planet, which is often energy that's stranded or just being wasted. They then take that raw energy and convert it to pure digital security, creating what the author calls a global value battery.
The book also calls Bitcoin the ultimate meme, a viral idea that has a superpower. Unlike other memes, this one has a profit motive built right in. Every single person who gets it is financially incentivized to spread the idea, which makes it grow. The author calls it anti-fragile. When people attack it or criticize it, they don't weaken it, they just give it more free publicity, making the meme even stronger.
This all creates this really cool symbiotic relationship between the network and the people who use it. The book suggests that just holding Bitcoin actually transforms the host. It makes them think more about the long term and be more skeptical of authority. In return, the network gets a powerful immune system, a global army of users who are fiercely dedicated to defending its core principles, especially that hard cap of 21 million. So all of these wild ideas come together in the book's final and maybe most controversial section. Its prediction for how the entire world transitions to a Bitcoin standard, a process it calls hyper-Bitcoinization.
At the core of this prediction is a huge conflict. On one side, you have technology, this relentless force that is constantly making everything cheaper, better, and more abundant. But on the other side, you have our fiat money system, which to survive has to constantly inflate. The book basically argues that these two opposing forces are on a collision course.
And the conclusion the book draws from this conflict is pretty stark. The author argues that this tension just isn't sustainable. The need to print more and more money to fight against technology making things cheaper will eventually lead to the collapse of the whole credit system. The book predicts this whole transition will happen in 3 stages. First, it's personal. Individuals discover Bitcoin and decide to opt in, one by one. This leads to the monetary stage, where all the value from failing fiat currencies looks for a safe place to go and gets absorbed by Bitcoin. And the final stage is what you could call the great repricing, where all the world's assets, stocks, real estate, you name it, are eventually priced in Bitcoin.
This brings us back to the ultimate anchor in this potential new world. The book's final point is that this one number, 21 million, becomes the single fixed point. It is the unchangeable constant that everything else is measured against, an absolute truth in a world of change.
And this is the book's final, truly mind-bending vision, a world where everything we value, everything we create, is just a fraction of an absolutely scarce whole. Everything there is and everything that will ever be, divided by 21 million. For those who want to learn more, the link to get the book is available in the video description. If you found this content interesting, please subscribe to the channel and like it to help us reach as many people as possible. Thank you.